And I would just invite people to look at that evidence. And if they've bought into the idea that the Bible's mythology or it's not historical, I would encourage them to look at what we're finding here at Shiloh, read the text, pray about it, decide for themselves.
And so this is where the Bible comes to life?
This is what we do. We don't just walk the Bible, we dig the Bible here at Ancient Shiloh.
There are places on earth where the wind still carries whispers of the divine, where stones seem to remember the voices of prophets, the songs of priests, and the cry of a nation that once stood in the presence of the Almighty. Shiloh, nestled among the rolling hills of ancient Ephraim, is one of those sacred places. Today, it lies quiet, its broken walls and scattered pottery half buried in dust. But beneath its silence hides one of the most electrifying mysteries in biblical archaeology: the resting place of the Ark of the Covenant. For more than 3,000 years, scholars, theologians, and seekers have asked, what happened to the Ark? The sacred chest, overlaid with pure gold, that held the tablets of the Ten Commandments, Aaron's rod that budded, and a jar of manna, the very symbol of God's covenant presence with His people. It vanished from the pages of history after the days of Samuel and Eli. But now, deep in the heart of Israel, a team of archaeologists believe they have found astonishing evidence that may point to the very site where the Ark once stood. Before we uncover the details of this breathtaking discovery, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Stay with us as we journey into the heart of ancient Israel, walking through the ruins of Shiloh, where heaven once touched earth, and where new discoveries are rewriting what we thought we knew about one of the holiest relics in human history. Long before the grandeur of Solomon's Temple in Jerusalem, before the walls of the city rose from the Judean hills, there was Shiloh, the spiritual center of Israel. The Bible tells us in Joshua chapter 18, verse 1, the whole congregation of the children of Israel assembled together at Shiloh, and set up the tabernacle of the congregation there, and the land was subdued before them. Here, after the conquest of Canaan, Joshua divided the promised land among the 12 tribes. Here, the tabernacle, the portable dwelling of God's presence, was set up, becoming the beating heart of Israel's worship for over 300 years. Pilgrims would journey from distant regions to offer sacrifices, to celebrate the feasts of the Lord, and to stand before the Ark of the Covenant, the throne of God on earth. It was at Shiloh that the child Samuel heard God's voice in the night. It was here that Eli's sons, Hophni and Phinehas, committed sacrilege and brought ruin upon their house. And it was from here that the Ark would eventually be taken into battle against the Philistines, never to return again. For centuries, the story of Shiloh was seen as complete, a chapter closed by divine judgment. But recent archaeological excavations are challenging that assumption, revealing new evidence that this ancient site may hold more secrets than anyone imagined. The renewed archaeological excavations at ancient Shiloh have been led by the Associates for Biblical Research, ABR, a team of scholars and experts who have spent years meticulously digging through the layers of time. Their goal was not simply to prove the Bible right or wrong, but to understand the physical world in which its stories unfolded. As their trowels cut through the soil, they began to find astonishing artifacts, remnants of the sacrificial system, ancient pottery, burnt bones of clean animals, storage jars, and even remnants of ceremonial vessels. But most significant of all were a series of massive stone walls and a large rectangular platform, a structure unlike anything else from that era found in the region. Could this platform have been the foundation upon which the tabernacle stood? Could this be the very ground where the Ark of the Covenant once rested beneath the wings of the cherubim? Dr. Scott Stripling, the director of excavations, described standing at the site with awe. "When you look around you," he said, "you realize this was not just a village or settlement. This was a sacred space, a national center of worship. Everything about Shiloh screams holiness." The central mystery revolves around the discovery of a large, rectangular stone platform cut precisely into the bedrock. Its dimensions and orientation bear a striking resemblance to the biblical description of the Tabernacle courtyard. Surrounding the platform, archaeologists found evidence of sacrificial activity, animal bones exclusively from clean species listed in the Torah, consistent with ritual offerings. These were not random leftovers from daily meals. They were ceremonial remains. Some bones were even found near storage vessels that had been intentionally buried, perhaps during a time of crisis or invasion. The pattern of the discoveries suggests that this was more than a mere gathering place. The type of materials, the artifacts found, and their arrangement align with what we would expect from the center of Israelite worship, described in the books of Exodus, Leviticus, and Joshua. The Ark of the Covenant itself may be lost, but its shadow lingers in Shiloh. The layout of the site, the sacrificial remains, the orientation of the structures all echo the pattern of divine presence described in the Torah. It is as though the very ground remembers where God once dwelled. In Psalm 78, verse 60, the psalmist laments, "So he abandoned the tabernacle of Shiloh, the tent he had set up among men." For centuries, this verse stood as the epitaph of a forgotten sanctuary. Yet today, it reads almost prophetically, as though God allowed the site to slumber until the appointed time when its stones would speak again. The discoveries at Shiloh do not prove the Ark's current whereabouts, but they may bring us closer to understanding where it once rested, how it was worshipped, and what its loss meant to ancient Israel. The holiness of Shiloh was not in its stones alone, but in what those stones once hosted, the throne of God, carried on the shoulders of priests, radiating power and judgment. To stand there now, amid the silent ruins, is to feel the echo of something eternal. For centuries, skeptics dismissed the idea that the Ark or the Tabernacle ever existed outside religious legend. But discoveries like those at Shiloh are forcing even the most secular historians to reconsider. The evidence on the ground matches the biblical text with stunning precision. Interestingly, the Bible hints that Shiloh's story was never truly over. In Jeremiah chapter 7, verse 12, God says, "Go now to my place that was in Shiloh, where I made my name dwell at the first, and see what I did to it, for the wickedness of my people Israel." This verse, often seen as a warning, also carries a promise that God's dwelling presence once filled this place. The rediscovery of Shiloh's sacred center reminds us that divine history is not erased. It is preserved, waiting to be unveiled at the right time. Modern Israel has once again brought Shiloh back to life. The site is now a protected archaeological park, where pilgrims and scholars walk the same ground where Joshua, Hannah, Samuel, and Eli once stood. And as new discoveries continue to emerge, each stone seems to whisper that the covenant still speaks. The Ark of the Covenant may remain hidden, but its story endures, in faith, in Scripture, and now in the soil of Shiloh. The recent findings do not merely validate history, they resurrect it. They remind us that the Bible is not a tale of imagination, but the chronicle of a God who stepped into time, walked among his people, and dwelt in their midst. Standing in Shiloh today, one can almost hear the faint sound of distant trumpets, the low murmur of priests at sacrifice, and the soft weeping of those who watched the ark depart. The air feels charged with memory, as though heaven once bent low over this very place. Perhaps the ark will one day be found. Perhaps not. But at Shiloh, the earth itself has begun to speak, revealing that even after millennia of silence, the story of the covenant is not forgotten.